So thank you so much for coming on today. I'm very excited. Will you introduce yourself and
Yeah.
then your role in cider?
Yeah, so my name is Eliseo. I'm the owner and head cider maker of Heartland Ciderworks, and I'm also the only employee, so I do everything.
So head cider
Uh,
maker slash an owner
Everything, yeah.
slash keg washer
Delivery
slash.
guy. Although I have outsourced my keg washing, so that's
Okay.
nice.
Okay, that makes it a little bit easier. What got you into cider? Why cider?
Yeah, so I started drinking cider in college when I was of legal age because I liked it more than the other stuff. I lived in Corvallis, so Two Towns was right there. So there was it's kind of what got me started drinking cider. But I didn't really like beer. I didn't really like wine at the time, but I have, started to enjoy those nowadays. And then I started making it in college just with some store-bought fruit or store-bought juice, and it was really, really bad. But me and my college buddies, we still drank it at parties, but nobody else would. We add quite a bit of juice to it. So started making cider then. Wouldn't recommend drinking it. And then later on, kept making it more and more. And then I started working at a store called Easy Orchards in Salem, which used to make cider, still has it for sale, and they grow a lot of really good cider fruit. So I had contact with a cider maker and really good fruit that I was able to either harvest some for myself and do some test batches or just kind of like learn. So I became kind of the cider guy there at the market, and which is separate from the orchard. It's owned by a family of farmers and orchard people. So yeah, I got more into cider then, into traditional stuff, and that's kind of when I started thinking about it, like maybe in the future I'll do something cider related on the side, while I was looking into another line of work.
Because you didn't go to college for cider.
I did not go to college for cider. I have an economics degree, which is useful nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was looking into a line of work that just didn't really pan out in my timeline. And so I was able to get a minority scholarship over COVID for the Cider Institute of North America's foundation course. And that's kind of when I started thinking of it a bit more seriously. And so I didn't get this big internship that I really wanted and decided to start making cider professionally. So I did start working at a cidery, a high production cidery, and worked there for a couple years. Started my cidery a little bit later while I was working there. And now I'm just doing my own thing now.
Okay, so you left the other cidery and it's just, this is it?
Yep.
This is your thing?
I'm very fortunate enough that I don't need to have a second job. Although my second job right now is a stay-at-home dad. So I'm part-time stay-at-home dad, part-time businessman.
Okay. I mean, being a stay-home dad is a full-time job. Because you have a baby.
He is 14 months old, so he's a little over a year.
He just turned,
but still needs a lot of hands-on care. Luckily, my wife is a nurse, so the schedule is a little bit more free.
Yeah, where she does long hours, but like more compact.
312, so the schedule works really well. I'm very lucky that this happens. She also does make a decent amount of money, which is very nice. And so we're very lucky that we're able to do this.
I love it.
Yeah, very lucky.
So from going from like home cider to like learning more about cider apples and then working at a bigger production facility, and about how much are you making in like a batch when you're making cider?
Yeah, it does vary quite a lot. My larger batches right now that I've done the past couple of years are around like 500 gallons. So that's my two largest ciders are around that size. Then there's kind of like the next tier, which are still like larger, but maybe not quite as heavy sellers, or just kind of like a little more specialty. Those are around like 275. And then basically below that, we kind of get into like my test batches or like really specialty stuff. Or kind of newer products are usually around like 50 gallons. I usually get like a bin of fruit just to kind of do a test batch, and that's roughly around like 50 to 60 to 70 gallons. So sometimes it'll like fit into a barrel, sometimes it'll be in IBCs, but I usually ferment in IBCs, and I have two very, very small tanks that I use for finished products, so I can't do like really big sizes because blending together makes it a little bit more tricky.
When you don't have the space for it as a smaller, I mean, a single person operation, you can only scale so big before you'll need to start taking more on.
The kind of the way I do things does make it a little bit easier to do it one person. I don't have an orchard outside of like a few trees at home that don't really do anything.
Not yet.
Yeah, exactly. So
takes a while.
I don't have to do the orcharding, which is a lot more work. My orchard that I source most of my fruit from has a press now, so they can
Okay.
just deliver me juice too,
Okay.
which actually was a new thing last year, which really helped with the newborn and my wife having a baby a week before juice coming in.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to sit around pressing apples. I
Yeah.
could just get the juice delivered, which
Yeah.
is a lot nicer.
Which saves you some time and
Yeah.
lets you focus on the family and
Yeah.
on your newborn baby. And I can't remember, did you have a son or a daughter?
Son.
Son. Okay. So adorable.
And since I produce once a year, I kind of go through like periods of being really busy and periods of not being very busy.
And
but
can work your schedule around
whenever
it.
I'm not making cider, I'm trying to sell cider. So I'm never like not busy. It's just kind of like, how busy am I?
It's the production period is like where you're just like go.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the rest of it's like it's made, it's here, it's
just kind of
waiting,
sits around for a bit.
And then I'm gonna work my butt off trying to sell it. Okay. So how long ago did you open Heartland Ciderworks?
Yeah, so we started producing in 2022. But we didn't release our first cider until 2023.
Okay.
So I do prefer to age my ciders at least a little bit, preferably like 6+ months.
Okay.
Sometimes it just kind of depends on whether I'm out of something or not. But yeah, so we didn't release until the following spring, just to kind of get started, once things start picking up a little bit.
Yeah.
So we are into our 4th year of fermentations. So it's our like 4th batch of ciders that we're making. So yeah, we just kind of, I guess, technically finished our 3rd year and into our 4th.
That's exciting. Yeah. So what's the story behind the cidery? Like why, like where's it located, first of all? And then like where, like you told us how long in business, but like why did you choose the name? Like what's like, why didn't you just keep working for the cidery you're working for?
Yeah, so we are in Rickreall, Oregon, which is a very tiny town just outside of Salem.
Okay.
And I just operate out of a winery right now, so I'm just renting floor space from them, so we don't really have a tasting room or anything. You might be able to visit, but it's questionable if you'd be let inside.
You're like, you can come, but I don't know what's gonna happen when you get there.
I would like to have a tasting room someday, but I'm not sure. As far as the name goes, it took me kind of a while to figure out a name. The working title at first was Cherry City Ciderworks, because I live in Salem, and that was kind of like the plan was to operate out of Salem, and it's called the Cherry City.
Okay.
But thinking about it, I was like, that's kind of a lot.
A lot of
name.
words.
Yeah, it's just kind of a lot of. And I did like Cider Works in there, so I was like, kind of a lot. It could be Cherry City Cider Co., but even then, that's still kind of a lot.
And it's a lot of just like tongue twistery for people who might have trouble.
And I was trying to tie it to kind of like Oregon in some way, because at least I only ever plan to use only Oregon grown fruit.
Okay.
Because I think we grow really good stuff here, and I've lived almost my entire life in Oregon. And pretty much predominantly in the Willamette Valley. And so thinking about it, I was like trying to figure out how to tie it to like Oregon to the Willamette Valley, and I eventually landed on Heartland Ciderworks. It was like the heartland of Oregon. Okay. So might be a little confusing to other people that think of the heartland as something else. So I try to have it on my bottles, like grown and made in the heart of Oregon. So I'm trying to keep it to that. So it might be a little confusing to some people, but I think the Willamette Valley is like the heartland of Oregon. It is where the most of the people live.
Yes, and like the agricultural heartland. Like it's where like all that those fertile valleys are, where people can actually like where the agriculture is. Yeah,
we grow a lot. And so that's kind of how I chose the names, because I'm trying to keep it Oregon centric, and then that's kind of where.
And then did you design the logo as well?
Or did you have no, I did not. So my brother is a graphic designer or former graphic designer. He designed the logo. I had gave him notes and was like, hey, I kind of want a low poly design apple, because it's a little bit different, and I think it's really cool. So he came up with the logo design. I have tweaked it just a little bit throughout the years, just mainly the formatting of the label. But the apple has stayed the same, and that's all him. I am not an artistic person.
I mean, you have to come up with the idea and then like give people who are experts in that thing the thing to do. Like you wouldn't have somebody who like is good at taking orders from people or working with numbers, making your cider, because that's not their expertise. Exactly, like let them do. Well, your degree in economics probably helps with like all the tax stuff you have to do and keeping organized when it comes to like figuring out your what you have,
regulatory stuff. I understand it.
You got a leg up on that. Which when I've talked to people a lot of the time, I'm like, what's the thing that you hate about your job? They're like, like if I didn't have to deal with that part of it, it would be great, because they didn't go into the business for that part of it. They went into the business as just like wanting to make cider and having this beverage that people enjoy. But when you have like both sides to you, then you can do both probably pretty easily.
Yeah, it is very important, but it's not the most fun part of the business.
Yeah, you're like, I know how to do it. Do we want to open something and taste something, and then we can start talking about it?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. One of the things I was going to ask you while we try this first one is, what makes your cider special or unique?
Yeah.
And you kind of mentioned it with you're only using Oregon fruit. And you used to press yourself, but now you're getting the fresh juice from the orchards that you like contract with and talk to. So what else makes it special?
So only Oregon grown fruit, predominantly grown just in the Willamette Valley. We do get a little bit from Hood River, some Newtown Pippin apples. Okay. But looking to maybe get those from the Willamette Valley as well. We're currently making a Spanish cider, which is from Southern Oregon, but also only Oregon grown fruit. But I'm trying to go for as sustainable as I possibly can. So, very little ingredients are added, as few as I possibly can. The vast majority of our ciders are unflavored, so it's just apples or just pears. Okay. We do have a couple that are aged on different types of woods, so they are flavored in that sense. But we're not adding any fruits or anything. Little sulfites as we can. And the orchard that I source most of my fruit from is more sustainable growing fruit. They do cost a little bit more, but I do think that we should grow stuff more sustainably, not just high production orchards. Just make as much as we possibly can. They are recently Salmon Safe certified as well, so most of my bottles in the future should be Salmon Safe certified. Okay. So just using different types of sprays and stuff so that doesn't get into groundwater and harm fish.
And and affect our fish population, because being in this like river valley watershed, like everything, every time you put stuff in the ground, it's going into some water source for somebody, and it's going to affect someone. Okay, so that makes it special and unique. You have a lot of your ciders out here in front of us. We talked about this a little bit before off camera. So how many ciders do you make? And at one time, like, how many can people expect to find? Sure. And one thing we didn't talk about when you talked about the cidery, like you're based near Salem, where can people find your cider? Like, are you only in Oregon? Have you tiptoed into Washington yet? Like, all the questions. I'm going to ask you like 17 questions and be like, answer all of them.
Yeah, no problem. Right now we've got 6 hard ciders currently available. One might be running out a little bit soon. The Cooper, we just sold our last case, so it might be dwindling out. And then we also have a sparkling apple juice that's pretty new that I'm just selling direct to consumers. You can only get that direct from me because there's some different regulatory things about
because it's not alcoholic.
Yes, there's some like higher regulatory stuff about that. And I recently got my juice and HACCP stuff, which requires you have to have a HACCP plan for juice. Okay. It's just different HACCP plan because there's no alcohol and different stuff. Okay. So it's more susceptible for bad things to happen basically. Okay. And so that one is just direct to consumer. But the rest you can buy in Salem, Portland predominantly. You can get them in a few spots in Seattle. Okay. And kind of along the way to Seattle.
Like along that I-5 corridor. Like as you're driving to Seattle, you stop at some different bottle shops.
Cider and Cedar in Tacoma may have some bottles left, and they bring on draft, on occasion when I'm driving through. But my website has a better list than I can list off the top of my head. It's pretty up to date. Draft is a little bit hard to keep up to date on, but I try to post to my Instagram of like, here's where you can find draft. Okay.
Or like I dropped it off here, and so it might be coming on.
Exactly.
As they rotate through things.
Some places just randomly throughout Oregon, kind of in the McMinnville area. Okay. Or Corvallis we just got into as well. So mostly in kind of like northwest Oregon, Seattle area, and a few other spots. You can also get it online from Press Then Press as well. So if you are outside of that small area, you can get them in other places. Yeah. Shipped to you.
Because they ship to 49 states?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. I know it's not
most of them.
I know it's most of the states and not all of them, because I can't remember which one it is. That's a hard one to like get all the, because there's paperwork.
It's a lot.
To like ship alcohol across state lines and all of the things that go with it. So let's talk about your ciders. So you have some that are already you know, like packaged and ready for production, and then it looks like you brought some new ones too.
I do have
So do
several
you want
new
to talk a
ones.
little bit about your line that you have?
Sure.
So we
So
can start. So this is
the Avalon was my very first cider that I made. It's an heirloom dry or a traditional dry, just kind of different verbiage. But you know, it was the very first cider I made. Kind of my go-to cider, my personal preference of flavor profile. But I tend to go for like higher tannin stuff. So it's got a medium tannin, medium acid, very little residual sugar, but there is a little bit.
okay.
It's never fermented quite fully dry for some reason. I'm kind of suspecting that there's maybe like a little bit of sorbitol in one of the apples or something that gives it a little bit more residual sugar. But I use a pretty hardy yeast for it, so it should ferment fully dry, but it just never has.
Do you use
just
like a certain apple blend in it, and that's why it's that?
So I pick all of the apples that go into each blend. I pick, or pears, whatever, except for the cans. Cans are a little bit different.
Yeah.
But everything else, I pick what varieties go into what, roughly the amounts. You know, with agriculture, things change. Some is more, some is less. So it does change year to year, the flavors
Do you
a little
put
bit.
on there what percentage it is of different things, or is it
Not,
just...
I don't put percentages, but I just
I see.
list what types of apples are in it. This one is roughly equal amounts. I think this one maybe had a bit more Dabinet than Yarlington Mill. But other than that, it's roughly about the same.
See, I love when you can look at a cider and, like, I don't need to know the percentages, but I love when they list the apple names because then you know, like, this isn't, there was, like, a lot of thought that went into it. So Yarlington Mill, Dabinet, Foxwell, and Gold Russet. Okay, and then you have, like, the tasty notes and everything. Okay, so Avalon was your first one.
Yeah, and then the next year I added 3 more ciders. So Tombé dans les Pommes is our French-style semi-sweet. So something a little bit lower in acid, but also a good amount of tannins. Going for something a little on the sweet side. So that one's semi-sweet, so on the sweet side, but not super-duper sweet. But yeah, made with a blend of French and American heirloom apples. And then this is the Little Apple. That's our low alcohol dry. So we make it like a cider kin. But then we do add some juice as well, some crabapple juice to give it some more flavor, give it a little bit higher ABV, but still keeping it light, dry, very refreshing on a hot day.
Nice. Okay, and then we have the...
And then the Coopers, our bourbon semi-sweet. So
that's the one you said you are going to sell out of soon.
Yeah, so I'm out, except for a few bottles to maybe send to some competitions. But yeah, we have a new batch that is aging a little bit. But yeah, it won't be ready for a little bit longer. So hopefully I can get draft out soon, maybe next month, but I probably won't have bottles ready for a little bit because I do not have any bottles right now.
You gotta
yeah, so I have to save up some money.
Oh, this is the one I think you gave me when we...
I was at the Pomelier exam?
For a Pomelier exam.
So this is our second batch of it. This one was just kind of, I just tried something. I had heard of some Newtown Pippins that were for sale out of season for pretty cheap. And then I just kind of ran into an olive grower. And we got to talking, and he was working with the Food Innovation Center with OSU to kind of like use the leaves and branches and like different products to kind of like be innovative with food. And so we got to talking a little bit, and I decided, you know, I had some cheap apples I could use. That's good quality Newtown Pippins that make good cider, and figured I'd try something different that nobody's really doing. And it was surprisingly good the first year. And so I was like, let's give it another try. Did a little bit higher volume, did some draft that sold very quickly and sold very well, and now got some bottles that are on the market too.
The olive branch, and you age them on olive leaves and wood. And this one also had some of the flowers as well. We were able to harvest it while they were flowering. And so we got so we kind of have a little side ferment going that ages on it, and then we add it into the main batch. So everything up until here was just all apple.
Except for the Cooper, which is fermented on bourbon.
It's barrel aged, but you're not adding like adjuncts like fruit and things. But this one is the first time you like, I guess, aged on.
So those two I would say are like my flavored ciders because they are flavored. Like they're not just apple.
But it's flavored with something that's like aging and taking time rather than you're like adding a puree or a juice or something in. And then
that is our just sparkling apple juice.
Your NA option.
So that is just Newtown Pippin apple juice that is carbonated, put into a bottle, and pasteurized for shelf stability. And
So
that's
you are,
about it.
so you're like force carving it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That, I would assume that's what you would have to do unless you like fermented it and then take the alcohol
Yeah,
out. But that's more of a big production thing where you have all
yeah.
the
Oh, yes.
equipment to do that.
And even then, you probably wouldn't be able to call it like
Yeah.
zero alcohol.
Because it's still like
Yeah.
0.05
Yeah.
or something.
You'd
where
have
you
to
still
call
have
it like
to-
non-alcoholic cider or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, which I think is
Yes.
what a lot of the people do.
Yeah.
Or they're just force carving.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have your first canned cider.
Yeah, so that one was a bit of a kind of specialty thing that we did where I just put out notices into my town, Salem, just if people had apples and pears that they had but didn't want or couldn't harvest or whatever, I'd come out and harvest their fruit. And we took it and made it into a cider, and
Okay.
it benefits them, my local Salem Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
So pretty cool. More of a modern cider made predominantly with some eating fruit, but it does have some crab apples as well. So
Okay.
a little bit of light tannin, but more of a modern cider. You get some nice fruity notes to it as well, but a little bit lighter, kind of more what people are used to when they see kind of like cider at the grocery store.
Yeah, and that's why it's, in a can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was trying to keep the price low on it as well, so these retail definitely for less.
Okay.
Especially because I got the juice for free.
Yes.
Except for like transportation costs and other things.
Yeah.
But the cost was low, so I'm trying to keep it low just because that still is our largest batch by far.
Okay.
We made almost 1,000 gallons of that, so we are still working through some of it.
Okay.
And, yeah.
And then a portion of the proceeds after you sell it goes to the
yeah.
Boys and
So
Girls Club?
basically, I'm just recouping my costs, and then after that, just the rest.
So
of
any
the
profit
money, yeah,
is going
just
to,
getting donated to them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So pretty cool. Trying to reduce some food waste because I've got a Google Maps on my phone that is just logging trees in my town, and there's hundreds. I think I have about 400 trees logged right now, and a lot of the fruit goes to waste that could be used. Could be eaten, but a lot of it just rots on the ground.
I know Seattle has a nonprofit called City Fruit, and that's kind of what they do is they log where all the trees are, and then people donate them, and they go through. City Fruit goes through them first, and if they're eating quality, they send them to the food banks.
Okay.
And then if they're not eating quality, they sell them to the local cideries, and then they make a yearly batch of cider from them. And so it is like a mix of like crab apples and dessert apples and all this stuff. And some of them are like are a little bruised, and like they're not, people wouldn't want to eat them, and you're not going to send them to the food banks. And so instead of throwing them away, and then those cideries that make cider from them also do the same thing where they donate money to help end hunger and things. So it's nice when you can give back in your own special way, and especially something that's so like near to you, like it's in your own your town that you live in, and it's helping the kids, and that's great.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I live a couple blocks away from the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
I went to this one as a kid as well.
So there you go.
It's pretty cool.
Just like, Heartland. There we go.
Yeah.
That's part of it too, right? It's not just about it being like the heart of like Oregon and agriculture, but like the heart behind it. I like it. Okay, and then you have some that are bottles here that you don't have ready to go out into the world yet, but what did you bring? And let's try them.
So we've got 2 rosé ciders.
Okay.
They are a blend of a decent amount of apples, so I'm not, off the top of my head, I don't have the list, but I know there's like some Early Red, some Redfield, some Needle Kenya, as well as some foraged red-fleshed apples for my home. So I did back sweeten this first one a little bit just because red-fleshed apples tend to be on the sharp side, so a good amount of acidity. Sometimes low on the tannin, but like if you're using like crab apples, they tend to have kind of a lot of both. Okay. So natural red color from the apples, and then back sweetened a little bit. So this one is still semi-dry. I believe it's about 1.5 bricks. Okay. Roughly. I did not have the acid levels yet. So yeah.
Do you send off for that?
I don't. So the facility I work out of, they do have some nice equipment, and they do have a little lab area, so I can use that to test titratable acidity. Okay. The alcohol I do send out. Like I can look at my bricks measurements through fermentation, but I would prefer just to have a better idea of exactly where the alcohol is. Yeah. So I do send it out to get tested by a lab. Yeah.
I'm gonna guess that it has a good amount of acid in it because it's like instant salivation.
It is. There is a pretty high amount of acid, I would guess. I would assume this is probably my highest acid cider. Last year, I did do a small batch of the Little Rose, which will be next. And that was, even though that was a ciderkin rosé, it was still my highest acid cider. Yeah. I did probably add more juice than I will on this year's batch. For back sweetening.
Last time you did? Okay.
So last year I did a very small batch of it. It was like around 20 gallons or so.
Just to try it out.
But it sold extremely quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's a few of us like cider nerds that are big red flesh fans.
Yeah.
Like there's just something about an apple and apples that I mean can produce this color
Mm-hmm.
and then can produce notes that taste like so many other fruits
Yeah.
than just apple. And
It's
then
really
you get
cool.
that in other ones where they like have spices and leather and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like berries and raspberry and all of that just from an apple. Like
Yeah, and
it's
this is
crazy.
I guess technically not my first time tasting it, but
Mm-hmm.
I did just add the juice very recently. So this
Okay.
is one of like maybe the second time I've actually tasted like the finished
Mm-hmm.
amount. I think it'll be carved just a little bit higher.
Okay.
It's currently carbing a little bit more.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's one of my first times tasting the final product. And on the note of kind of red fleshed things in general, one thing I would like to do for the future is a red flesh perry.
Okay.
But it's also not made currently because nobody grows the fruit in
Okay.
any sizable quantity.
Okay. Like there might be like a tree that has like a little bit on it somewhere. I didn't even know that there were red flesh pears.
That's a recent news to me. You know, I learned about it maybe like a year ago.
Okay.
And I've been looking around. There are some further away orchards that grow some and sell them. At least there's one that I know of.
Okay.
And there's
Is
one
it outside of Oregon?
Yeah,
So you're
it's like
no.
in Wisconsin.
You're like,
There's
no.
one orchard in Oregon that grows one variety.
Okay.
And I contacted them this year, and they said they didn't have any. So
okay.
Seems like not a large quantity that they grow.
Well, and a lot of, not a lot, but some apples and pears are like, they grow.
Biennial.
Yeah, and they grow when they feel like it, and depending on the whatever. And so you might get a year where you have 0, or you have 3, or you have an abundance, and you don't know. So, but now you have a contact with them, so you can like.
Yeah,
keep
and my orchard supplier is working on growing some.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the ones you planted last year, I think most of them died. And the OSU germplasm, big USDA growing thing, did have some, but I think I heard that most of them died as well due to fire blight a year or two ago. So unfortunately, it seems like it's going to be a project that's in the works
You're
for
like,
a while.
Someday.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to do it.
Yeah, so I would love to be the first person to do one, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I've been talking to people, so
and then they might hear. Yeah, don't tell people. You didn't hear. I'm going to cut this whole part out.
But also, like, nobody grows them in any quantity, so it's like it would be a lot of effort for not that much cider.
Yeah, and you just want to do it because you want to do it. And you want
I think it would be really cool. I think it would sell really well, too, just because the color would be really cool. But I would like to try it, and I've read that there are some pears that are red flesh that should make a good perry as well. So I think it'd be really cool. It'd sell well, you know, kind of being the first to do it, I think would be really cool. But I just think it'd be really neat.
Yeah, I think experimenting, like you said, like with the olive branch, like you had an opportunity to do it and you're like, well, let's see what it tastes like and what it does. And having that mind about when you make cider, it's not just, you know, like let's add cucumber and jalapeno and whatever to it, which I like
don't
too.
Like those two.
I mean, you don't like those two things. You're like, I would never put those together. But like, you know, like some people are innovative by adding things to their cider that are outside of apples, and you are changing which apples you're using and which yeast you're using and all of that to make a different product. So I think that is something that makes yours, you know.
I just noticed you have a red flesh apple tattoo.
This is my
really cool.
that I've had for, I don't know if people can see it if you're on here, but I've had it for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now. It was like when I first really got into cider, I was like, this is going to be my apple and pear arm. I have some pears on the back too. But I was just like, I love red flesh apples. I love the cider they make. I love the history of it. And the Niedvitskiana is thought to be like the mother of all red fleshed apples. Red fleshed apples, and it's grown in like Kazakhstan, or it originated from there. And they think that, you know, all the other red fleshed apples are like descendants of it. And I'm like, that's just a great thing to think about, that at some point in time, all of these things that we try like originated from one tree. And apples are so crazy how, and I started following a Instagram account recently that they're following and seeing what happens when they take the seeds from apples and grow and just see what comes out.
Nice. Just doing seedlings. That's cool.
Yeah, because they want to know, and apples are interesting like that, where they don't produce the same apple that they are, their seeds. And so how many different varieties could we really have if we weren't like monoculturing these apples that we do? So before we get into the other ones, let me see if I can open this back up. I have more questions for you. Okay, so we've kind of talked about how many ciders. Any funny stories from like it could be where it wasn't funny then, but now it's
Sure.
funny now. Like something that happened in the last few, and it could be from before you started this and while you've
Sure.
just been working in cider,
Oh, funny stories.
or like a disaster
Oh,
that
I
you're
mean, there's
like,
something that was kind of funny. One day at the other cidery that I was working at, they had chickens running around, and one
okay,
day I was just driving around on a forklift, and a chicken that was being harassed by other chickens just hopped up on the forklift with me
okay,
and just rode around with me for like half an hour. So that was kind of funny.
that is pretty funny. It was just like, I'm done with you.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
gonna
like,
get away by getting on
yeah,
this
because
forklift.
they were the little black chicken was being chased by the bigger chickens, the
Yeah.
roosters. So they were harassing him, and he was just like, "Well, I'm gonna hop up on this big thing and be safe from the other ones."
Yeah.
There was a picture somewhere, but I can't find it, so I'm not sure where it
It's
is.
like, he'll save me.
Yeah, just me on a forklift with a chicken.
That's
So
pretty
that was
bad.
pretty fun.
So
I
I'm
sat
assuming
right on my leg and was just sitting there.
this is more of like a farmyard setting.
Yeah.
Okay, like you don't have chickens around your
No,
your
I used to have
production space now?
chickens, but not at the winery I'm at. There
Okay.
are no chickens. Although I did see a cat yesterday.
Okay.
But there's some houses nearby, so it could just
So,
be random cats.
just cat that's
Yeah.
in there. I always think of like you see the videos, and I feel like it's more in beer because they have like that stuff that's on the bottom where they like open it and just like goes everywhere.
Yeah.
Or you hear about people like forgetting to clamp something and it just goes all over them. But I like your chicken story.
Yeah.
Like-
Luckily, I haven't made too big of messes.
Yeah.
You know,
You seem like you're probably pretty methodical.
I try to be. But,
Like-
there's always sometimes
Yeah.
you miss something.
Where
I've
you're like-
spilled lots of water on the floor several times, but
Yeah.
that's not a
But you're
big
not having
deal.
whole tanks emptying on the ground.
No, that'd be really bad.
You're like, where's some wood?
Yeah.
Have there been any like variations that you've done like trials of and you just could not figure out how to make them work in a way that you liked them?
Not really.
Okay.
For the most part, all of the ciders that I've made have all been orchard blends. So
Mhm.
I just tell them what apples I want, and they either get them to me and I press them and blend them together, and then they ferment. If there's more than one IBC or like different times, then they
Mhm.
get blended together at different times. But pretty much I've been pretty lucky of just like I read about the apples and see what notes they have, and I choose what goes into it, and they've all worked pretty well. Some maybe fine tuning at the end of like sweetness levels,
Mhm.
but I've never actually had something that was like really bad that I had to like do some severe fixing.
Okay. Other than when you first were making cider and it was just grocery
Yeah.
store
Oh yeah,
juice.
that was just really bad. I mean, the juice quality wasn't great. It was just
Yeah.
it was
And
like Fred Meyer juice.
And I feel like that's a true thing. Like you can only create a product that's as good as the ingredients that go into
Yeah.
it. And you can fine tune things and like add things that are outside of those to like make a product that tastes good. Like there are ciders that are made from culinary apples that I enjoy and I like. But when you can fine tune the exact ingredients in it, then you can make that taste the way you want it to taste. And you can, like you said, the acid levels and the tannins and all of those, you get to take those apples and juggle them in a way to get what you're looking for. So that's great that you look at the different apples and their flavors.
Yeah.
So talking about that, do you have a favorite apple?
I do. My favorite apple that I don't use a lot of because I wish I could get more of is Marie Menard.
Okay,
It is a
and that's in
French-
your Tombe
Yeah,
Don Le Pomme.
It is, yeah. So
Yeah.
when I did a batch before I started,
Okay.
that apple was in my kind of like first batch that I made when I was kind of thinking about starting commercial
Okay.
cider. So that was like my largest batch, like home brewing, like 40 gallons or so.
Okay.
And just kind of harvested off the ground fall apples and Marie Menard and Carmen de Sonneville.
Okay.
Like another apple that was really cool. But Marie Menard's is a French bittersweet that just has a ton of fruity aroma.
Okay.
You can walk through the orchard and it just
And, like,
smells
it's-
really strong
Okay.
of apples. And it's
Okay.
really cool. I love the apple. I just wish I could get more of it.
Yeah.
Actually, I do think I have something for the first story.
Okay.
Or the last question.
Yeah, let's go back.
A little two things. So one thing I will mention is the little apple. I'm still kind of trying to work the kinks out on that one.
And that's the one that's the cider kin.
the cider kin,
Okay.
yeah. So some people do really like it, but I do wish it kind of sold a little bit more. It is
Okay.
kind of for a specific market of people that are going for like the low alcohol stuff that don't just want juice.
Yeah.
But it is rather light, and kind of it being a cider kin, it can have like a pretty low amount of flavor.
Uh-huh.
So I am kind of working on maybe giving it some more flavor either by doing alternate fermentation methods, or like this next year or this next batch, I'm going to be doing like a semi-dry. So like I will be adding some like crabapple juice that has like a lot of flavor, just to kind of up the flavor a little bit, still keeping it on the dry end. But definitely not making it just like really juicy. To get that flavor, just to kind of up the like total flavor content basically.
A lot of people want like the low ABV also usually means it has lower calories, right? And that's so you're kind of trying to marry those two things, because you can get a low ABV but then it can have a lot of sugar if you're just back sweetening the heck out of it. Okay, so you're trying to balance those two things. I mean, that makes sense.
And then the alternate method that will take a little bit longer, I've been reading about some non-sac yeasts that convert sugar into lactic acid. So that is one thing I guess the wine world is concerned about, of having too high ABV of wines. So that's a method. So like it'll reduce some of the sugar before like alcohol fermentation. But you know, maybe do it longer, take a low acid apple juice, do that fermentation, though, increase the acid level, reduce the sugar, and then do a regular fermentation. So that would reduce the sugar, give a low acid juice some acid, and then maybe go from there. Then maybe kind of do a ciderkin of that. So that'll be a much longer. I don't want to do a full like 200-gallon batch of something.
You're like, I'm gonna trial
do a 5-gallon of maybe some like Dabinet or something.
I like how your like test batches are like more than I've ever made in my life. I made cider 3 times and it was like 1 gallon, 1 gallon, and this year I went up to 2 gallons, and I'm like, whew, that was, and I'm like, this is a lot. Like my fridge is full of cider. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. But then, I mean, you get to sell it. But when you make a test batch, do you sample it at places? Do you just share it with friends and family? Like,
it depends.
Like those 5 gallons, what are you going to do with them?
So that would just be, like, maybe I'll sell, like, not sell it, but maybe I'll give it to, like, cider people. Like, see what they think about
bottle
it.
shares or something. Bring it to stuff like that and be like, look at this nerdy thing I did. Because I'm like, it's not enough to sell. And you have to like do all the stuff to sell
like I wouldn't be able to get enough labels for that unless I just like printed them from home, and they wouldn't look good.
And then it would be like when you very first started, where it was like a label that you
that I just kind of made at home and just printed it on. Like, those were like my little test ones before I actually
before
had
you
labels.
had real stuff. And I love the wax
seal
with the logo on it. I think that
I love
adds, like,
wax in theory, but when it covers the entire thing, it just annoys me because it makes it like way harder to open. So
some of them I've learned that when it covers the whole thing, you can still just stick your bottle opener and open it. You don't have to cut it. You just use some power and it'll open. But I do like where it's almost like a letter to a friend. Like, here's my
and I do them by hand. I got a little glue gun that melts the wax and I stamp them.
There you go. So it's made from heart the whole way around. Do we want to try another one and then we'll get into another question? Okay.
So this next one is actually the very first time I'll be tasting this batch.
Oh, wow.
This one may not be quite exactly the same because it was kind of a mixed at home. But this is the Little Rose. This will technically be our second batch of it because I did a small test batch of it last year. But this is our low alcohol sweet cider. So whenever I'm trying to make like kind of new ciders, I usually try to have like kind of 2. So 1 dry and 1 sweet. Or maybe semi-dry, semi-sweet, kind of something like that. So this is kind of like the sweet version of our low alcohol cider. But it's also a rosé cider as well.
So is it only red flesh apples in here, or is it a mix?
So this is like a ciderkin of a red fleshed of our red flesh blend, and then back sweetened with crabapple juice.
It's good.
And I made a very small batch of it last year, and it sold very, very well. It was pretty sweet. I think I'm gonna bring it down on sweetness a little bit this year, but you know, this is my very first time tasting it outside of a little test I did at home that I just used sugar just to kind of like test of what sweetness level I want and how much juice I should add. So this is the first time of me adding juice into it, although I didn't have super fine tuning of juice measurements. So we'll see. But I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I like it. It has like the tart, like acidity that the full strength one will say it did, but you can tell that it has lower ABV. You can tell that it's kind of
a little bit lighter. Should be less than 4% ABV. The full strength rosé is 6. So this one I threw like a little bit of water in. So this was just the full strength rosé that I then altered. Threw some water in and then some juice for the test.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. Maybe I'll go a little bit higher on the juice for the
Yeah.
finished batch, but
Yeah, once you kind of let it sit and see what it tastes
yeah,
like.
yeah, because
Yeah.
the crab apple juice, does have a good amount of acid and tannins as well. So maybe I'll
Okay.
go a little bit higher on the sweetness, but not totally sure yet. I'm
Yeah.
going to be doing some more in-depth trials of that
Yeah.
to finish up.
And then put it out. And you usually release stuff in the spring, then the new ones, or as they finish.
Probably, I will probably be doing the spring more so just because I'm kind of currently broke because all of my money went to apples,
Yeah.
and then I need to save up for bottles. I'm hoping to do it this year where I can get like kind of a higher quantity of bottles all at once, and then do all of my packaging kind of when things slow down in the winter.
Okay.
We'll see if I can actually do that,
Yeah.
where I can afford it, but that's the plan because over the summer I did run out of some cider in bottles, and so I had to bottle a bunch. And so that's every day I'm bottling is days I can't be selling cider, so it kind of slowed things down a little bit, kind of in like some peak sales time. So I would really like to have like a lot of cider bottled when I'm a little bit less busy.
Yeah.
And then, have a lot of it on hand.
Can you do so like you do these specialized, like they're not the standard bottle that you see that people put them in. So what are these ones called? I can never remember.
Stubbies.
Stubby
bottles.
So are you allowed to like have people bring them, like you do a lot of the farmers market and stuff? Can they bring back their empties to you, or do you have to buy them fresh?
They can. For something like the sparkling apple juice, I would only use fresh.
Okay.
But for some of the ones, I do like run them through my dishwasher, and if they don't clean, I just throw them away. But if they do get clean without anything left in there, then I can reuse them.
Yeah.
Maybe throw them in some sanitizer as well.
Sanitizer.
But, they are all pasteurized post fermentation as well.
Yeah.
Post bottling.
You want to make sure you.
I don't want things floating around in them.
Or being, just want to be as clean as possible.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking like that might. I know people with the sustainability things that we were talking about, like that might be a not selling point for people, but people might get like excited about something like that. Like, oh, I bought it from you from the farmers market, and next time I go, I'm just going to bring it back, even if I don't buy more right then.
Yeah.
Just
I have
to
had some people,
to keep that flow going of like.
There is like a company that is doing that kind of thing in Oregon for wine bottles. I just don't think that they would be doing mine because it's a niche kind of thing. Not a lot of companies make these bottles. Yeah. And so then. Do
you think you'll ever have to switch to different style, or you just really?
I was just talking to someone about that.
I love the look of them, because they're still there. Are they 350 milliliter?
Yeah. Okay. 12 ounce 350.
Yeah, and so like compared to like the long neck ones, why did you was it a style thing, or why did you?
Partially, yeah. So I was always planning on a smaller format bottle just because I knew our prices were going to be higher than kind of your standard cider. So I wanted a smaller format just to keep the price per bottle cheaper. So like someone could see it and be like, oh, okay, it's not $20. So I can buy something on just kind of a whim, just to kind of like try it out. And then if
same as like buying a Starbucks or something. They're like, it's like my morning coffee. I can buy a bottle.
Yeah.
Or they're not having to think like.
And then I wanted a bit of a unique look. I did originally think about using Belgian bottles because I did really like the look, and those are around like 500 mils, so a little bit smaller, but not like super small. But at the time, I was kind of looking around, and I did see a lot of cideries and other people doing Belgian bottles, and I was like, I wanted something a bit more unique.
You want to be different.
So I decided on stubbies just because I like stubbies. I think they're really neat, and they're a bit unique.
Yeah, and it stands out in the crowd.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to kind of switch through. We talked a little bit about sustainable practices. What advice would you have for someone who wants to work in cider?
Yeah.
Maybe
I'd say
for opening your own cider.
Sure. If you're starting a cidery, I'd say if you have no experience, definitely get some experience in a commercial cidery, just because it's very, very different than going from home production to actual cider production. Like before I even started, I didn't know what a tri-clamp was, which is like the thing that connects everything to everything else. In a cidery.
I'm like, I don't really know what that is because I've never made more than a couple gallons at a time.
There is some home production stuff that does use tri-clamps, but that's like when you're talking to people that are like really serious about home production, and they basically have like a very, very small production that they just don't.
They're not commercially. They're not commercially doing it. They're they drink a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they make a lot. They make for their friends. But yeah, definitely learn at least how a commercial cidery works. It is very different. Just the mechanics of it is very different, and kind of how you do things. Doesn't hurt to learn how to drive a forklift as well. I was doing that a little bit beforehand, so I knew how to drive a forklift. But that's at least any sizable production, you'll probably need to use a forklift.
Yeah.
But
or you're moving a lot of stuff by hand, which is not
which is
time.
not fun.
Yeah, or good for your back. It's not good for anything.
Like a pallet jack is fine, but you can't you can't push 2 IBCs of cider, but it's very difficult.
Yeah.
A forklift, you need to do that.
Okay.
That as well as get your regulation stuff in order before you do anything.
Okay.
Just make sure you know what you have to do legally, and your reporting stuff can be very confusing. So make sure you know about that.
Yeah. Keep it all
before
legal.
you get going. Before you order your apples, make sure you have a place to actually produce. That kind of happened to me a little bit. So that was fun. Figuring out a production space when you already have stuff planned and you're already like kind of in gear to make cider is not the most fun place to be. But
so have a plan and have some knowledge.
Yeah. And you can source all your stuff a little bit beforehand, and it's nice to have it in place. But you can start before you have all the equipment.
Yeah.
If you're going for more longer term stuff, which is kind of what I did.
Yeah.
But having it all in place beforehand is definitely a good idea.
What's the minimum time one of your ciders takes to make?
I mean, a month if I really wanted to be quick about it, but I never really want to do it that quick anyway. I think maybe like 3 months was the soonest I've released something. Usually it's like I could probably get something quick. Like the Avalon is something I could get done quicker, but I do prefer it to like settle out and clarify naturally, so we don't filter our cider. So I would prefer it to kind of be at least a little bit clarity before I release it. But it's not something I'm like huge like I don't need it to be super clear before I release it. So like even now, like some of our ciders aren't super clear, but because it's unfiltered. But like I think last year I had like ran out, and so I did release something, the Avalon, a little bit sooner maybe than I would have wanted to, but it still wasn't. It was like maybe January, and those are a little bit early season apples, so it was like maybe 2 to 3 months.
Okay, so it's still a pretty long production
it's not
time.
Definitely not weeks.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of my apples kind of sporadically. The fermentation of like an entire batch is split up between a few batches over like a couple months.
Are you sometimes you're doing like some post fermentation blending, right? Because you get a certain apple at a certain time, and then another apple's going to be in that cider, but it comes like 15 days later, and so you started those later. And
so like this year's Tombado de Poma is split up between like 4 different IBCs, all at different times, and different apples were pressed at the same time. But they will all get blended together, racked off the lees, blended together in a larger tank, and then kind of put into IBCs for aging longer.
And they'll be in there together. Here's a question, and you can take a second to think about it. 1 second, that's it. Who makes a cider that you wish you made?
Sure. Yeah, I was actually just listening to an episode, and I was thinking about that on the way.
You're like, I prepared for this. I did my homework so that I would know what you were going to ask me, because I ask mostly the same questions.
Mine would be Empirical Cider up in Washington. They make a lot of really good stuff. They also got started around the same time as I did. It's really cool. But they make some really good pears and some really good barrel aged stuff as well.
So
I think probably that or raw cider. Those are kind of like the top 2 of my favorite cideries, other than myself. So me included, that's kind of like my top 3 of ciders that I enjoy. They're all fairly close by. So except Empirical. Empirical's a little bit harder to find. It's a little bit harder to find.
Down
so I
here,
usually try to find, like, if I see a bottle for sale, I usually grab it.
You're like, I gotta try it.
Just because, And I just tried a bittersweet the other day that I had never had before. So I was like, I haven't had that one. So I got it and tried it. It was very tasty.
I find it interesting that the ones that are your favorites outside of your own are, I wouldn't say like similar tasting, but similar in like the thought process behind them. They don't add adjuncts. They don't like everything is. The apples are chosen specifically. They're orchard based. They're they're along the same lines. So
I'm a bit of a snob.
You're like, I like what I like.
Not too harsh, but I'm a little bit of a snob. I don't drink that much cider because although I am building my wine fridge, is full of a lot of 750 ml bottles. But I would like a little bit more smaller format, just because like if I just want to drink something, grab something. It's like I don't really want to have a 750.
Yeah.
Randomly.
I do like that Empirical does make the smaller size bottles.
Yes, they do.
And then Haken, I like that they make too the 375.
Yeah,
ones.
those are nice looking.
Yeah, because they're the caged ones.
Okay,
like, these are nice because it's just like enough for two people or like one person if you're gonna have like 2 drinks out of it, and then you can like share it at a table or something. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I just don't see them as much in my area.
They're not around here. I haven't really seen them that much either, but I like that. I like smaller formats because when if you're going to open a big bottle, you either need to be sharing with someone, and having children and just me in my house, I'm not sharing it with them. So I'm like, if I open a 750, I can put a cork in it, but it doesn't taste exactly the same the next day. Or like sometimes I'll forget about it, and I opened one the other day. I was like, oh, I opened this like a month ago, and there was still like this much in the bottle, and it was in my fridge. And I like tried to pour myself a glass, and I was like, nope. It sat in my fridge for way too long. So
I have no problem drinking 750. It's just like I try not to. It's like
can I do it? Yes.
A little baby at home.
Should I do it? No, I should not do it. What's your vision or hope for this industry?
I think I would like to see more of the kind of traditional ciders grow. I live in a good area for that. We grow a lot of apples in Oregon, Washington, a lot of good cider-specific fruit. So I guess in our region, I would like that to grow a little bit more. Kind of, not to be exactly like wine, but maybe just, not just stay in the kind of bubble it's been in. Bubble's maybe a bad term market-wise.
But it's a very like niche thing where like if you're a cider drinker, there's like the cider drinkers that drink any kind of cider, and then there's like cider drinkers who drink apple only cider.
And then like you hear every time is like, oh, I don't drink cider, it's too sweet. Hear that all the time. It's like, well, that's not
that was going to be a question that I had for you, is like, what myth would you want to dispel about cider? And I think that's a big one.
Yeah. So like, I think education is the most important part of kind of the industry. In places like Nevada, you're not going to get the type of cider that we make up here just because would be way too expensive to get like bitter, sharp fruit down there. Is it possible? Sure, but it's just cost prohibitive. So like, getting the tankers of Washington juice from the fresh eating market is pretty much like all they have. So it's not that it's bad cider or anything. It's just,
it's different.
Not the stuff I prefer. It's different. I prefer the more traditional styles of cider within a range.
Yeah.
I
can see that. You're like, I'm not going to be drinking any cucumber jalapeno cider.
No, I don't like cucumber, and I've found I don't like pepper ciders.
Okay. Yeah. I like it. I like a spicy cider, especially on a hot day. I don't know what it is.
Interesting.
Like it's already hot out, and I'm like, give me some spice.
Steer into it. Yeah, it's just two things. Like spice and a cold drink is just two things. They don't mix well for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think one, I just want to see education. Do better, because I think that's kind of the main thing holding us back. But yeah, and then there is like a perception of like the sweetness. Yeah. And that cider is just like, it's one thing that you then flavor to do other stuff.
Yes. Like, I see that.
Like if you do that with wine people, they would have a fit.
Yeah.
Because wine coolers are a thing, but like,
if
you took a Pinot Noir and then just like threw, I don't even know what you would do with that.
I don't know either. I think
white wine might be a better
if you told somebody like, oh, I've tried wine, I don't like it. And they were like, oh, what'd you try? And you're like, oh, I tried a cab. And they're like, well, you tried one kind of wine and you didn't like that kind of wine, and now you're never going to drink wine again. I feel like people do that with cider. They're like, oh, I tried cider and I didn't like it. And you're like, oh, what'd you try? And they're like, oh, I had a pineapple, whatever. And you're like, okay, well, you tried one kind, and now you're just not going to drink any more cider ever, when there's so many different types and taste profiles. It's like as many types of wine as there are cider.
Exactly.
Mixing apples in different ways. If you did a little bit different percentage, it can taste so different.
If one day that I went to a restaurant and I saw a cider list that was like half the size of a wine list, and maybe their draft had more than 1 or 2 ciders that weren't like a 2 towns. Nothing wrong with 2 towns, but if I could see a list that didn't just have 2 towns, that'd be great. Yeah,
where it's not just a big cidery that has the distributors to get it out there. Yeah, I get that.
Or like I went to a grocery store, like a big grocery store, and I could see a half an aisle of cider.
Yeah. Or even
you get 2 aisles of wine and a full aisle of just domestic beer.
Yeah.
you can have like a door. Okay, maybe a door around here is not crazy, but like you
Yeah.
can have 3 doors of cider
Yeah.
that are different
And
types.
door that has like different formats too, because
Exactly.
you only
Yeah.
see cans a lot of the time,
Cans.
or like the
Cans.
22 bottles.
Yeah.
But I want to see like I want to see something that I could buy in a grocery store, a cider that I could buy and bring for Thanksgiving dinner as like a statement cider.
Yeah.
Like this is what I'm bringing as my contribution to this meal, like you would for a wine. Like that would be great. Yeah.
Another thing is like my bottles, like I sell direct to consumer. I price at a pretty competitive price. I think eventually I would raise my prices, and I still get people saying like, "Oh, like it's expensive."
Yeah.
I mean, sure, when you compare it to cans of cider, it's definitely higher. But apples in general are going to be more expensive than beer. Grains are cheaper.
Yeah.
Wine industry has a much bigger crop, I suppose.
And they have a bigger footprint. Like they have, there's a lot of wineries and there's a lot of wine growing regions. And I mean, a grape is all juice. When you squish that, all you're getting is juice. Okay, I did have some questions from listeners. And we've kind of gone all through a lot of these. Do you think, how about this one? Do you think that the sober curious movement is going to drive more cideries to make NA products?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what caused you to decide to make one, or what was that kind of about?
I mean, kind of. Yes. Okay. So when I was planning the cidery, I was always planning on doing that.
Okay.
Just to, one, kind of decrease the price of my other products, because the cider can I could essentially make for free, because it's just taking leftover juice from the apples that I already have and paid for. I didn't release it my first year just because I didn't have the money to do it.
Okay.
So I was always planning on doing that. And the reason I came up with that is because I was reading in books like, oh, lower alcohol is becoming more popular.
Yeah.
And when people like drink at home, they prefer something lower alcohol. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I can make it cheap. I could sell it cheaper. It'd be a different product. So I could come out with 2 products that I could essentially make for the same thing. I could sell that one a bit cheaper. It could also reduce the cost of my other products, because that would essentially give me more money from something that I took 0 money.
Yeah.
So yes, kind of, but I do think that as time goes on, the market essentially is down. I think that cider has done pretty well keeping up, but like there was news yesterday that Rogue shut down or is shutting down.
They just closed everything.
I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just temporary. I don't know. But I think that, there have been quite a lot of closures lately, so I think that is something that is going to be a thing. I have judged the low alcohol Northwest Cider Cup last year. I've been in it from the first year. So like the first year, I think there was only like 4 or 5 entries. Last year, there was maybe 9.
Okay.
So it's definitely growing, at least on the low alcohol end, and there were a couple non-alcohol options as well. I do think it's just maybe too expensive to do it for most people, except for the very large cideries. I do think it will become more popular. I have even considered maybe doing like a traditional cider that is non-alcohol.
Okay.
I just haven't actually gone through the process of like seeing how much that would actually cost to do.
Yeah, is it going to be worth it?
Because you basically make the cider, it's more expensive, and then you do another process which would then increase the cost of it already.
Yeah.
For maybe a lower market. I mean, a lower size market, maybe.
Yeah.
I haven't done the research, but it's something I'm considering in the future, but I don't know if it would make sense money wise.
I think having that in your mindset, that it could be something to do is probably good. Because there's a difference between, like your sparkling apple juice is still juice. And it's sparkling. And then like a low ABV or alcohol removed, like the flavor and taste in that is going to be
very
different. Where juice is sweet.
It is.
And not everybody who's not drinking alcohol will want something that's sweet. Like, what are you replacing? Like, I know when I don't drink that often, and so like a lot of the time I reach for like a sparkling water. Like, that's a pretty low cost thing for me to drink. That's not alcohol and feels a little festive. Where like a lot of NA options, I feel like it needs to be like an occasion for me to want to spend money to drink that. Like, I'm not going to buy a 6-pack of NA cider and have it in my fridge just to drink every day.
Yeah.
Like it would be like, oh, like I'm at a party and I don't feel like drinking, but I want to hold something that
Sure.
feels
Yeah.
nice and isn't just like a glass
Comparable,
of water.
but without the alcohol.
Yes, and so that's when I would turn to something like that. But I don't know about this. Like I feel like the generations that are coming up have seen like the effects alcohol have, and that might be why they're like the sober movement is gaining. I don't know if they would reach for something that has like a higher price point than just like grabbing a kombucha or a sparkling water or an
and I
apple
mean,
juice.
the only two non-alcoholic ciders I can think of are Two Towns. I think Sidekick and their pineapple.
Yeah, they do an NA. I know Schilling has one.
Okay. Oh, yes, they do. Yeah.
I think Merriweather came out with one.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Tilted Shed, I think, had one too for a little while. So they're I think some of the smaller cideries are making them, but they're not for. I think Two Towns and Schilling. I think Two Towns is one of the only ones that I know that ferments it and then does the process to take the alcohol out. I think most of the other ones are taking apple juice and adding water to it and botanicals.
Kind of what I would call that would be vinegar. Kind of like a faux cider.
Yes.
I did actually. It wasn't even on purpose. I just kind of like made something at home, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is actually."
You're like,
it was like a pumpkin tea mixed with apple juice, and I was like, that's actually kind of comparable to cider.
And I think I've seen that where they use tea to replicate the tannins that you get.
Yeah, like black tea.
Yeah, so
some peel of something.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, last two questions. What is? Yes, let's try this while we do the last two questions.
So this is a not even done fermenting traditional perry.
Okay. So is it all perry pears?
All perry pears.
Okay.
I know there's thorn and butt and yellow huffcap, maybe Hendry huffcap as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and like my other ciders, kind of blind going in, I just read up about the pears and was like, these seem like good pears. Let's do these 4.
Okay.
And my orchardist had them and put them into a blend. So
okay.
A lot of my ciders, I just kind of choose the blends and kind of go from there. So it's always a little bit of a blind shooting.
And you just hope that when you read up on it, you read up well.
Yeah. And I listened to a podcast from I think it was Neutral Cider Hotel, but maybe it was a different one where they were ranking apples and pears, and I was like, well, those pears, gotta choose those.
So have you tried this yet?
I had a sample yesterday, so it is still fermenting. It is quite sweet.
Okay, how much longer are you going to have it go for?
I mean, it's gone on a lot longer than I expected it to. I used a yeast that, from my observations this year, is a bit of a slower mover, but this one is maybe been going for like a month now.
Okay.
Maybe a bit lower, but like it's kind of chilly in the winery, but it's not like really cold. It's like 50s, maybe 60, but it's not super duper cold. There is a bit of a Chapeau Brun on the top. Maybe that's slowing it down a little bit. Has a little bit of carbonation in there, but I mean, it is quite sweet. I would like it to ferment a little bit more.
Yeah, but it's the flavors.
But I have been liking it.
Yeah, I like if you poured this for me
tannin.
And didn't tell me it was alcoholic, I would be like, this is like biting into a fresh pear, but like a fresh pear that has like a little bit of like and like a little bit of like spiced notes to it. Like
it is nice. I just don't usually go for like super sweet stuff, and this is kind of on the higher end.
I think you're right
sweetness.
That it needs a little bit longer.
And it was still like had some carbonation.
Yeah.
But
no, that's and it's like well rounded. That's a good perry. And perry can go funky.
Yeah.
So it's.
I'm thinking maybe next week I may have a tank open up, so I might rack in between the lees and the little cap on the top, and put it into a tank, just to finish up the fermentation. Since, I mean, I kind of have a tank open for a little bit, and so I
might as well
put it in there. See how it goes. Maybe kind of temperature control. That'll be my first temperature controlled ferment.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I never have tanks large enough size, but this is a smaller batch. It's like 120 gallons.
Okay. So, final 2 questions. What is the thing that you dislike about your job?
Yeah.
What is the thing that you're like, I wish that I could pass this off on somebody else, or like magic wand didn't exist?
For my production and kind of my size would be cleaning IBCs.
Okay.
They are just a pain to clean.
So those are like the plastic
totes,
right?
Cube of plastic wrapped in a little metal cage.
Yes.
And if you just age in them, it's not that bad. You can just like hose it down, like do a cleaning cycle, but like not too bad. But when you ferment in them,
Get all
like
the
one of the lees, that's not too bad because
Okay.
at least that stays wet and like you can just like it takes a stronger hose, but you can like just hose it down, and it'll flow out. It's a little bit trickier. They designed them so weird too, with like ridges, which don't make sense. Why would you do that?
You're like, somebody needs to design this that actually makes
But
sense.
more the croissant line,
Okay.
like rises up and then it dries on the sides. So you have to like clean it, but also the hole is like 6 inches. So getting a brush in there is really tricky. But then
Okay.
also you have to like, get in there a little bit to get the corners. Like if it's a small batch, it's like on the sides. It's not too bad.
But when it's full.
Yeah, and like the croissant line is up on the top is really tricky, and it's just you have to get on it. You get wet. You have to like scrub it. And
You're
it's
like,
just
why
a
does
pain.
my shoulders and back hurt
Yeah.
the next day? And you're like, oh.
Like recommend flex tanks
Yeah.
because at least they're better designed. They have a bigger top, and the insides are smooth. I mean the IBCs are smooth, but they have these like ridges.
Yeah.
It like comes down at the top. I'm like, why do you do that?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then to like flow out, there's also like ridges on the sides.
Yeah.
To get everything out, you have to like spray this side, spray this side, spray this side, and it's or like rock it back and forth.
You're like, it's time.
Yeah.
It just takes so much time.
Yeah, it's a pain.
Labor and time intensive.
Labor, yeah. I mean, if you do a cleaning cycle and it cleans it the first try, like that's awesome. But
Good for you.
yeah, but when you do a ferment in them, it's never that easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do just power wash them just to get the big gunk out, and that does work pretty well. I bought attachments for a power washer to do angles.
Okay.
And so it's tricky. You're just like holding it here, going
You're like, I hope
this
I'm
back
doing
and
it.
forth, and it's
But you're
a
still
pain.
just getting really wet.
yeah,
because it like sprays
it
out.
leaks.
at you.
Yeah, you get sprayed. So that is definitely the thing I hate the most about my production.
Yeah. So it's specific to
yeah.
people who use the totes.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're in a high production, I'd say cleaning kegs, because that's a giant
Yeah.
pain.
Which is why somebody else does it for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I don't have a keg washer, but
Okay.
but
Yeah, like-
my production is small enough that like keg washing isn't really that big of a deal. Like
Mm.
maybe I'll wash 20 kegs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which seems like a lot of kegs to me, but
it's not that
Yeah,
many.
like
when you're washing like hundreds in a day, then
Mhm.
20 is not that bad.
so final question. What do you love about your job? What is it that gets you up in the morning and why you keep doing it, even though when you say like you're broke?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I even just bought a walk-in cooler. So
Ooh.
I am like a little bit in debt even. So
Oh my
that's fun.
goodness.
But the business can afford the payments.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come out of my pocket exactly.
Yes.
I don't make any money anyway.
You're like, I do this
yeah.
for the love.
Yeah, I really do. I love creating something that I enjoy drinking,
Mhm.
and that I can share with other people. I'm trying to, kind of make different cider that most people don't know, and it's really cool when someone tries something they haven't tried before, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good!"
Yeah.
And it's maybe different than the cider that they're used to seeing at the grocery store.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really cool. That was really fun last night at the Zoo Brew to see kind of people do that and see repeat customers get the same thing over and over.
They just keep coming back.
Yeah, one person was like, "This is the best cider here," and I was like, "That's
You're like,
really
that's
awesome." But yeah,
warms your
seeing
heart.
people enjoy something that I made and spend a lot of time making,
Yeah.
and kind of
The
doing
best
my
thing.
craft is really cool.
Okay.
It's really fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to add before we close up?
I mean, we will be making a couple new other ciders as well. A Spanish cider this year that
Okay.
was just kind of a late minute addition from an orchard that had some fruit that they didn't sell, and
Okay.
it got in touch with me, and I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. So very small batch of that, like 20
Okay.
gallons. Wild fermented Gravenstein, that's malolactic fermented
Oh
and
my
aged in a barrel. So kind of a lot in there. A little surly as well.
Okay.
No, I think it's batonage, when you kind of like swirl around in the barrel.
I think
so-
that's when you.
Yeah, so a couple different things that I didn't have samples of. They're aging for a little bit
Okay,
longer.
okay.
But yeah, nothing crazy new.
Okay.
Just increasing my production a little bit with some new products
Okay.
and keeping things going. Getting into more spots. And maybe at some point in the future, I'll hire somebody to help with
Okay.
sales.
There you
go.
That's
be
a
nice.
time consuming, I'm sure
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It'd be nice to have a Portland rep or something like
Yeah,
that.
that can do all that
Yeah.
market for you. If people want to find you, like website, socials, that kind of stuff, where can they look to find out more and look at, like you said, on your website to find out who has your cider right now?
Yeah. So Instagram and Facebook are my main social medias. I do post a TikTok on occasion, but not super often. That's just kind of like little tidbits. My website, which has a long URL because it's a Wix website, so it's a free website. Just look up Heartland Ciderworks. Either Press Then Press will come up first, or I will come up second or first. So if it's a Press Then Press site, you can buy it there, but that is not my website. But it does have some.
You're like, just Google me.
Yeah, just Google Heartland Ciderworks. Will be in the top 3, I would hope. If it has a picture of my face on the front website, then that's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Getting an award.
Yes, I was gonna say, you've won a few awards.
I have.
Like, know them, some of them off the top of your head, or all of them?
Yeah. So, best new cidery at the Northwest Cider Cup. That was for the Little Apple.
Okay.
Got that for me. Although technically we did tied with Empirical Cider that year. That was their first year, I suppose. Although they were probably making before I was, because they
aged their stuff for a while.
Ciders in barrels, I think, for a decent amount of time, longer than I do, I assume. I don't know their production, but we came out the same year and we tied. That was really cool because I think they're really great people and make great cider. So being on equal footing is really cool. And some Glen Caps. Never gotten a gold yet, which is kind of disappointing. I thought my first batch of Cooper was really, really good, but that got bronze, which was a little disappointing.
But it's still a good accolade to have. Yeah. It's having a Glen Cap medal.
Mostly Glen Cap medals. Got a few silvers.
Okay.
And yeah, just the one Northwest cider. I didn't enter anything last year.
Okay.
Because trying to save money and keep the business is now, well, maybe not now since I just spent $3,000 on a cooler, but we were going to be profitable this year. It might be close.
Oh no.
But yeah, this will be a somewhat profitable year at least. Oh no. Yeah. How does that stop the?
I don't know what it is. I'm just going to put it in low power mode and we'll let it do its thing.
But yeah, it's been a good year. Didn't put any money into the business.
Okay.
It paid for itself.
That's always a good thing.
So hopefully next year it can start working the other way around and can start paying me.
Yeah.
Which would be really cool. And yeah, we're getting into more places, making more cider, and maybe soon will be too much that I need someone to help.
But that's always the dream. Right?
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Well, thanks again so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for listening. Okay, I'm gonna turn these off.